Welcome. Often we think about contribution to our community or society as an external one. But today's guest is somebody who believes that true impact starts with internal strength. She is on a mission to prove that cultural heritage and physical fitness do not have to be at war. She is building a stronger, healthier generation of women. And today on this show, we're going to find out how Surabhi Jain, thank you very much for joining with me on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, the leading question of this show is how are you adding value to your community or society that you live in?
That's a great question. I'll quickly introduce myself.
Yeah, sure.
My name is Surabhi. I'm a fitness and nutrition coach for Indian women in the US. My work exists because there is a big gap when it comes to the health and confidence of this certain part of the community, which is Indian women in the US. When we look at them, like these are the women who are juggling so much in life. Like they are focusing on their career, they are building a family, while like they are prioritizing everything else in their life. They are just not prioritizing themselves. So my work exists to help them realize what they are capable of. And I strongly believe that for anyone to identify their own strength, it begins from within. You have to recognize the strength that you have physically and mentally. I do that by helping them get physically strong while also mentally resilient, because I strongly believe that these two things go hand in hand.
Absolutely. So, from observing your clients, what is the biggest oversight that Indian women living in the US make when they are trying to achieve their fitness? Is it too much cardio? Is it focusing on the number on the scale? Or is it the heavily rice-based diet? What is it?
I want to start with why this is happening. There is that lack of motivation or lack of knowledge. But I'll give you a very simple example here. We have been having the same kind of beliefs when it comes to our health since decades. Like we are doing the same thing that our moms used to do, what our grandmoms used to do when it comes to our diet, the way we are living our day-to-day life. While the technology, the science, the biology, like it has evolved so much. Maybe 20 years ago, there was not enough science to say that building muscle is the most important thing you can do for your body, for your life, for your longevity. But we tend to go after the same things which feel easier, which is like, okay, maybe I'll get on a diet for 90 days because it's just easy to like maybe skip a meal or something like that. As opposed to building a muscle, which is going to require you to build a new skill. You have to learn how to lift. You have to learn how to fuel your body. You have to learn how to take care of your mental health. All these things go together. And I would say like that is the biggest oversight, which I'm noticing when I talk to Indian women in the US on day-to-day basis.
So let's talk about the muscle aspect. You talked about building muscle, right? But do you have clients who come to you who say, I don't mind building muscle or losing muscle, but I want to lose weight or lose fat, right? Why is the word muscle so scary? And as a coach, what do you do to reprogram the mindset of your clients?
That's a great question. The reason why there is that apprehension when it comes to muscle, building muscle, like a lot of women tend to say that they would rather have a toned body versus build muscle and lose fat. So the reason that happens is because like growing up, what we have seen is building muscle is generally for gym bros who go to the gym, bodybuilders, as opposed to regular people. Indian women are a little bit hesitant when it comes to building muscle is because we are taught to shrink, to not take space, to fit into certain mold of being a good wife, being a good daughter, being a good mother. So that's where, because building muscle means that you are taking up space, you are reclaiming your strength. That's the reason why there is a certain hesitation when it comes to building strength. That being said, I would also love to share that, like, I certainly feel that there is more and more awareness towards it. So generally, I have a lot of women who would reach out to me and the first thing that they want to is lose fat, which is a great goal because losing fat, or especially like if you lose visceral fat, it directly is linked to lowering your risk of developing diabetes. So that's a great goal. The second goal generally that they have is getting stronger. And what it means is they want to build muscle. So it comes back to that education part of things where what they lack is like they want to get to the output, but they don't know how to get there. So that's where I come in. I bridge that gap, which comes to the education where like I have to explain like what getting stronger actually means. Like, how do we get there? The second thing that I do is like show them examples. I have been lifting for 12 years and I don't look bulky. Like, even if I try to look bulky, it's going to take me a lot of effort and lot of lifestyle changes to get there. But education around for a normal person who just lifts few times a week, who's having a regular diet, living a normal life, playing with their kids, it's very hard to like get bulky. It's pretty much impossible to get bulky.
Okay, awesome. So you spoke about visceral fat, right? So let's backtrack a bit and go to the science of it. Studies show that South Asian women have a thin fat phenotype, which is we store a lot of visceral fat even at a very low body weight. So the whole body positivity movement of, it doesn't matter what size you are very beautiful in the way, that's good to an extent. But is that dangerous to us Indian women, biologically speaking?
That's an interesting one. And there's certainly lot of pros, lot of positivity about body positivity, and I definitely support it, but it's about how far you want to take it. The aspect of body positivity that we don't want to shame someone based on their body size, that is a great part, and that's what we want to take away from body positivity. Where we want to draw a line is being thin and being healthy are two entirely different things. So we have to understand that when it comes to body positivity, it's not just body weight, it's not just BMI. There are a lot of health markers that go into it. And that again comes back to being aware of these things. BMI was never designed to assess your health. It was an indicator of what your weight and height is, but it does not capture so much about your health, which is your muscle mass, which is your metabolic health, your visceral fat, your insulin sensitivity, all these things it does not capture. So there are other metrics that we need to look into as opposed to just looking at BMI or number on the scale. There are three main things that we should be looking into as opposed to just looking into BMI. The first category is where we look at body composition. So in addition to BMI, we also look at what is your visceral fat, what is your body circumference in different parts, what is your muscle mass. Secondly, we also look at your strength and performance markers, like how strong are you? Are you able to lift your toddler and walk around the park with him? Are you able to, if you're already lifting, how are you progressing on it? If today you can do, let's say, you can do a squat with 20 pounds over time, is that increasing? That's some of the performance metrics we should look into. The third category is where we look at these metabolic metrics, which is generally with the blood reports that we do once a year at our annual check. We look into what is our blood glucose level, what is our A1C, lipid profile, iron levels, all these micronutrients, how we are doing it. So this gives us the complete picture of how you are doing. I would also like to add one, like a bonus category here when I work with my clients, especially with Indian women in the US, because they are doing so much and like the stress levels are also pretty high. So I also love to look into how you're managing stress in your life. How are you sleeping? How much water are you drinking? How is your life outside of work? So because that, again, leads to your mental health, which is connected to fat loss as well.
Yeah. So you spoke about stress. Let's dive into that. The superwoman complex that we have, like the Indian women, they are high achievers in the US, right? They are hustlers. So this hustle culture among immigrants, is that one of the specific and significant reason why Indian women in the US are not able to achieve the goal that they want?
You like nailed it right there. Like that's exactly the reason why I do what I do. It's because women are trying to do so much. Women who are living here, doing everything by themselves with their partners. But because they are doing so much, they are juggling their work, career, family, social life, making sure their kids are getting exposure to Indian culture as well. I have clients who would Monday to Friday, they would be like working from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But then on weekends, they want to cook those
Indian dal
Indian
chawal.
meals for their kids because that's the only way they can expose their kids who are born here, who are being raised here, to that exposure to Indian culture. So, like, if I work with someone to say, okay, if your work days are very busy, let's try to carve some time out on weekends. But that's where it gets tricky because now weekends is about like spending time with the kids, making sure like because you are here when you're living here as like you and your spouse, you are trying to make up for grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors. Like you are the one who's like catering to all these different needs, right? So coming back to that superwoman complex, like that is the biggest reason why fitness and health of women gets, I would say, like deprioritized because like when you have so many things on your plate, something needs to be deprioritized. Otherwise, how are you? It's still 24 hours that you have in a day. It's still 7 days that you have in a week. The reason this happens is because it's very hard for women to understand the value of health, of fitness, of taking 30 minutes out 3 times a week to strength train. It's very hard to see the value of doing that when you have things like spending time with your kids, taking care of the house, managing the household, managing the groceries and everything. Because eventually, when you focus on building strength, lifting weight, nourishing your body, taking care of your mental health, it's automatically going to improve all the other things in your life. There's also one more thing I would say that I have noticed, especially working with Indian women in the US, is there's also that psychological reason behind it. Like the reasons we spoke about is
guilt?
more exactly the reason we just spoke about is more economic reason. We're like, okay, you have to do it because you don't have any other resources to do it. There is that psychological reason that if I leave Sunday morning for like 1 hour for myself, I could spend that time with my kids. So there is that guilt. You should rather be taking care of someone else. So like we are also that prime or elite caregivers. So that is another reason like why being that superwoman of the house, it comes down at the cost of their fitness and health.
So, Ms. Jain, culturally, Indian women are always asked to fit into a certain mold, right? With your work, are you allowing Indian women in the US to find their space and find their voice in their personal lives?
I love this question so much. And this is part of the reason I do what I do is when I work with women, yes, the primary thing that we are working on is losing the fat, building the muscle, but it's the transformation that happens within. I'll give you an example. So one of my clients who is 45 years old and she has 2 teen boys, generally she would be the one cooking for the family and she would eat at the end whatever is left. After working with me, like after she realized how to nourish her body, how to fuel her body, and like what it would take for her to get stronger, she started serving herself first. And these are small things, but these things compound. And like these are the things you want to set examples for your kids as well. When I work with women, I focus, of course, on nutrition, fitness, but at the same time, there's a lot of unlearning of the years and generations of conditioning.
Yeah.
That is something I focus on as well as I work with.
Prioritizing yourself, right? Before everything else.
Yeah. Recognizing your self-worth, prioritizing yourself, set boundaries for yourself. Like one of my other clients, she would generally be the one doing the morning routine for the kids, dropping them to the daycare. But then since she started working with me, the only time she could find time for herself was in the mornings. So then she worked with her husband to figure out a schedule where, like, 3 days a week, it would be him dropping the kids to the daycare, and it would be her time at the gym.
Oh,
So these are small things, and it's just something that they never thought about that they could do. That's how they could prioritize themselves. So that is, I would say, how I'm making small changes in this community, in this part of the community, which I often feel like this is like the biggest gap when it comes to their fitness and health. Because just handing someone exercise plan and fitness plan, that is not something which is going to take care of their health. They need something more than that. It's like much deeper than just a fitness plan and a nutrition plan.
fantastic. So, Ms. Jain, thank you very much for joining with me on my show. It was very eye-opening and insightful. Really appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.